So, for nearly an entire year, a single data bug from Google was quietly, secretly messing up marketing reports all over the world. Today, we're going to deconstruct exactly what happened, why it matters so much, and most importantly, give you a clear plan to clean up your data.
And it all started with this. On April 3rd, Google just quietly posted this 47-word notice on a Data Anomalies page. It confirmed that impressions, one of the most fundamental metrics we have for online visibility, had been wrong. This tiny little announcement had absolutely massive implications, and it basically pulled the rug out from under SEOs and digital marketers everywhere.
And the craziest part? The sheer length of time. We're not talking about a little weekend glitch here. For 11 straight months, one of the most important numbers in our entire industry was just wrong. Think about that. Every single report, every analysis, every strategic call you made during that time, it was all built on a foundation of faulty data. And let's be really clear here. This isn't just some technical footnote for the data nerds. Oh, no. This error has real-world consequences for your strategy, for your budget, and maybe the most important thing, for all those conversations you've been having with your boss or your clients about performance and growth. So how did one little bad number cause so much chaos? Well, it created this huge ripple effect. See, when a core metric like impressions goes wrong, it doesn't just stay in its own little box. It cascades through all of your data, and it pretty much contaminates everything it touches. It all starts with a metric that every single one of us relies on, click-through rate, or CTR. It's a super simple but really powerful formula, right? It tells you how good your content is at actually getting someone to click. It's just clicks divided by impressions. And this right here, this is the heart of the problem. Impressions are the denominator in that CTR equation. So if that number was artificially high for 11 months straight, what does that mean? It means your click-through rate was artificially low for almost a year. And the damage from that just cascaded fast. Suddenly, all your CTRs looked worse than they were. Those board reports you filed showing massive impression growth, turns out that growth wasn't totally real. And that whole narrative about AI overviews eating all our clicks, we were trying to measure it with a completely broken ruler. You might have even decided to cut budget or stuff creating content that, in reality, was actually doing great. But you know what's really fascinating about this whole story? Google's announcement didn't just appear out of thin air. The SEO community, the folks on the front lines, looking at this data day in and day out, they were already raising the alarm. They saw it first. It was an SEO consultant, Brody Clark, who flagged these really bizarre impression spikes on LinkedIn, a full 4 days before Google said a word. And what happened next was awesome. Other practitioners jumped in almost immediately, all confirming they were seeing the exact same weird patterns. It's just a perfect example of how powerful and observant this community is. And as everyone started digging deeper, it became pretty clear that this wasn't just one simple bug. It was actually a perfect storm, a convergence of 3 separate data issues, all happening at the same time, all working together to create this massive data mess. So first, you had the main logging bug, which started inflating impressions way back in May. Then, just a month after that, Google starts mixing in unfilterable AI impressions into the reports. And then, to top it all off, you had bot scrapers that were also artificially pumping up the numbers. What a mess. So the bottom line is pretty simple and pretty brutal. Any attempt you make to compare your website's performance year over year using impression data from this period, it's just not going to be reliable. The data is just too polluted to trust. Okay, that's the problem. It is a big one. So now let's talk solutions. Let's get into your action plan for how you can take control of this mess and protect your reporting, starting right now. All right, here is your 5-step playbook. First, do a quick health check. If your impressions shot up while your clicks stayed flat, yep, you were affected. Second, immediately switch your main KPI to clicks. Google confirmed those are accurate. Third, get ahead of this. Talk to your leadership now before they see the numbers change. Fourth, go into Search Console and export your daily data right now before Google corrects it, so you have a historical record. And finally, number 5, go into all of your dashboards and reports and annotate them with these key dates. This right here is the single most important sentence you need to memorize. When your boss or your client sees the impression numbers suddenly fall off a cliff, you need to be able to tell them with complete confidence, this is a data correction, not a performance catastrophe.
So as you see these numbers shift, you have to remember, this is not a sign that you failed. This is a return to reality. A drop in impressions in the coming weeks means your data is finally getting more accurate, and that, my friends, is always a good thing. And that leaves us with the big question that every single marketing team now has to ask itself. Once all this noise is finally stripped away and the numbers settle down, we are all about to get a much clearer and maybe a very different picture of how we actually performed over the last year. The only question is, what will your data say?